It's a fascinating thing. Most people who fail, it's not because they aren't smart. Not at all. They fail because they're stuck thinking the exact same way as everybody else. So let's dive into this, because what we're about to unpack could totally change how you look at pretty much every problem from now on. Just let that one hang in the air for a second. It's a pretty powerful idea, right? A little uncomfortable, even. The thought that so much of what we call thinking is really just imitation. So in this explainer, we're going to break down two really powerful ways of thinking. The first one is called second principles thinking, and that's kind of the default mode for most of us. Then there's the second one, first principles thinking. This is the secret sauce used by some of the most original thinkers in history to get incredible results. All right, so let's start with the brain's default setting. This is the path of least resistance, the one most of us are on, and we don't even know it. This is second principles thinking, and what it really is reasoning by analogy. We just look at what's already been done, we see what the best practices are, and then we make little tweaks here and there. We're just building on foundations that someone else already laid. And you hear this all the time, right? Well, this is just how it's always been done. Or, come on, everyone in our industry does it this way. It's this hidden assumption that because a path is popular, it must be the right one. Now, let's be super clear. This way of thinking isn't automatically a bad thing. It's safe, it's predictable, it leads to small, steady improvements. But, and this is a big but, it also leads to a super crowded space where everyone is just a slightly different version of the same old thing. It has a ceiling. But what if you don't want to just make a slightly better version of what's out there? What if you want to create something brand new? Well, that requires a completely different operating system for your brain.
Let's dig into that now.
And this is first principles thinking. So instead of starting with what everyone else is doing, you start with a totally blank slate. You basically get a hammer and smash away every assumption until you're left with only the things you know are 100% true. And from that foundation of truth, you build your solution back up. This slide nails the core difference. The common question, the second principles one, is how is this usually done? But the essential question, the first principles one, is what is absolutely true here? Do you see the shift? It's moving from imitation to total deconstruction. Okay, to make this real, let's use a classic example you've probably heard of. For years, everybody just knew that electric cars were crazy expensive, and they always would be. It was just an accepted fact. And here's where it gets interesting. The second principles thinker just shrugs and says, well, car batteries are expensive. That's just the way it is. But a first principles thinker, someone like Elon Musk, asks these almost childlike questions. Wait a minute. What is a battery actually made of? What are the raw materials, the cobalt, the nickel, the lithium? What do those things actually cost on the open market? And by breaking it all the way down, Musk realized something huge. The raw materials for a battery were way, way cheaper than the finished product. The problem wasn't the stuff inside. It was the ridiculously inefficient way they were being put together. So Tesla didn't try to make a cheaper version of an existing battery. No, they reimagined how to build one from the atoms up. They didn't just improve the car, they totally redefined what it could be. Okay, so it's really tempting right now to think, great, first principles equals good, second principles equals bad. But that's not quite it. The real secret, what truly effective people do, is they know which tool to pull out of the toolbox at the right time. Here's a really easy way to remember it. Second principles are for building faster. When a good system is already in place and you just need to get it done, you follow the playbook. First principles, on the other hand, are for building smarter. When the old playbook just isn't working anymore, or you want to invent a whole new game, you start from scratch. So, when do you actually go through all this trouble? You use first principles when you're gunning for real innovation, when you feel totally stuck on a problem, when you need to challenge the very foundations of your industry. And, let's be honest, when you want to create a massive, unfair advantage for yourself. And when you just stick to the tried and true method. You use second principles when you're working in a system that's already working great, when speed is way more important than originality, and when the consequences of failing are really high, and you have to keep risk as low as possible. All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually start doing this? Let's make it practical. Here's a simple framework you can use for any problem you're facing, starting today. It all starts with these 3 simple but crazy powerful questions. First, just identify a core belief you have about the problem. Ask yourself, what do I believe is true here? Second, challenge that belief. Okay, why do I believe this? Is it based on real facts or just something I heard? And third, this is the fun one. Imagine a different world. What if this belief is completely wrong? Okay, so once you've poked holes in your own assumptions with those questions, you can start the real deconstruction. Break the problem down into its absolute smallest parts. What are the undeniable facts? What are the real constraints, not the ones we just imagine? And what are the fundamental human needs we're trying to meet? Once you have that clean, solid foundation, you can start building up to a totally new solution. So why should you even bother with all this mental heavy lifting? Because trust me, this isn't just some intellectual game. Mastering this thinking has a direct, massive payoff in your real life. Think about it. If you're a student, you'll learn way faster because you'll understand the core ideas, not just memorize a bunch of facts. If you're a creator, you will absolutely stand out in a sea of copycats. If you're an entrepreneur, well, this is basically the engine of all innovation. And for any of us who just want to think more clearly, this is how you start to see the world as it actually is, not just how it's handed to you. When you get right down to it, it's a choice. Most people just go through life borrowing opinions and following maps that other people drew. But a very small number of people do the hard, rewarding work of building their own understanding from the ground up. Let's wrap up with this idea. Second principles thinking is super useful. It tells you what works right now. But first principles thinking, that's transformative. It shows you the entire wide open landscape of what's possible. So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. If you want an average life, just accept the answers everyone gives you. But if you want an extraordinary life, you have to start questioning the assumptions that everyone else takes for granted. So what's one assumption you're going to question today?